Hi there, Hillary here for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. This is a very special episode of Coldwater Curiosities because it is the lowest low tide of this season, which means we're gonna get to see some pretty cool stuff. I've already scoped it out, and I know that today we are going to be talking about sea stars, so let's go ahead and get started. You already know that we're talking today about sea stars, specifically the mottled sea star. Now, something exciting that you can see here is when I found the sea star hanging out perfectly in the shell with its bits of water, I also found another nudibranch. Now, since we've talked about nudibranchs already in a previous video, we're gonna stick and focus on the sea star. This specific species is called the mottled sea star, and it is considered an echinoderm. Basically, these are spiny skinned animals that are characterized by calcareous plates which are covered by a soft skin. Worldwide, there's around 1,900 described species of sea stars. But in the Pacific Northwest, depending on the way you describe the area, there can be between 30 and 80 different species of sea stars. Sea stars are regularly being discovered. In fact, earlier in March 2025, there were 2 new species that were discovered. One was found on the sunken wood in a deep sea ecosystem, and the other was found in deep sea vents in the Arctic. Pretty cool, huh? The mottled sea star can live up to 7 to 10 years. When it comes to their size, they can grow up to 16 inches in diameter. But again, the average on these adults are between 6 to 10 inches, which means the one we have here isn't quite an adult yet. I would say it's an older juvenile. So where can you find these? Well, the range is from Alaska down to Southern California, and luckily for us, they're most common here in the Pacific Northwest. If you're going out and trying to find their specific habitats, well, you can look intertidally to subtidally down to 328 feet. Now, some of the areas that you should be looking in to find these guys are eelgrass beds, kelp forest, in areas that have sandy and muddy bottoms, but you'll also find them in rocky shorelines and areas that have docks or pilings and different hard man-made structures. Let's talk a little bit about their anatomy. Now, the color on these guys can range from brown to orange, green, and a blue-gray, with their spines on top being a white that creates that mottled pattern. Now, obviously, you can see they have 5 arms, which means they have radial symmetry. Now, the top and the bottom of sea stars look a little bit different. On the top, you can see this little circle here that is a slightly different color than the rest of their body. Now, that is the madreporite. This is where water exchange happens. If you were to flip them over on the underside, their mouth is going to be in the center, and internally, you can't see this, but all of their organs, including their reproductive organs, their stomach, is all centrally located on each of their 5 arms. They have a whole bunch of tube feet that assist them in moving around, but also help them with feeding. Something else that's interesting is that at the end of each of their arms, they have sensory spots, so basically can just sense light and dark. I mentioned that the stomach is located centrally internally, but what I didn't tell you about their stomach is really cool. So their stomach, they have 2 parts of it. So the first part, basically, they are able to vomit this out and use it to engulf their prey. It excretes these really interesting digestive enzymes that helps to break down their prey. And then once the prey starts to break down, those digestive enzymes have done their work, it moves on to the second part of their stomach, where those digested particles are able to be distributed and those nutrients moved around to the rest of its body. Pretty cool, huh? Now, something else that's really interesting about sea stars is because of their body design and the symmetry, they're actually able to lose 1 or even multiple arms and regenerate them as long as part of the mouth and the central disc is still attached and viable. When it comes to reproduction, the males and the females are separate, and there's external fertilization. So the larvae are going to live in their larval phase for approximately 30 to 60 days. And they start out with bilateral symmetry. And as they go through that time period, they're gonna morph into having that radial symmetry that you would see in the juvenile and the adult sea star. The diet of sea stars, mottled sea stars specifically, includes things like mussels, barnacles, chitons, clams, bivalves, snails, and even tunicates. But you might be asking, what eats sea stars? Typically, their only predators are seagulls. Now I gotta say, if you've ever seen a seagull trying to eat a sea star, it is quite comical, and perhaps not worth the gull's time. Now, something else that sea stars have to be concerned with is sea star wasting syndrome. Sea star wasting syndrome was discovered in 2013 and it still exists now. It is going to present itself with abnormally twisted arms, white lesions, deflated body and arms, and even arm loss, as well as body disintegration. Sea star wasting disease is believed to be caused by a bacterial infection that pretty much causes them to suffocate due to the lack of oxygen. When it comes to sea stars in aquariums, it's not likely that you're going to be keeping a mottled sea star in your tank unless you have a cold water system. However, there are plenty of different sea stars and starfish that we do see commonly in the aquarium hobby. I don't know about you, but I had so much fun learning about sea stars. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I have. Maybe it inspires you to go out and explore the outdoors around you. But for now, we are going to call it for this episode of Coldwater Curiosities. I look forward to seeing you for the next one. This has been Hillary for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching.